If you are here for this week's webinar, Granting for Good, a live case study with Sanofi and Bonterra, you are in the right place. Super excited to have you here. My name is Amanda DeFonte. I'm our Senior Manager of Virtual Events here at Bonterra, and I will be your moderator today. I'm joining you live from Washington, D.C., so feel free to write in the chat where you're coming from, your organization, kind of who you're representing, where in the world you are. We always love to see kind of who's on the call here with us. So feel free to do that. And then while we introduce ourselves, I've got a couple of just kind of brief housekeeping notes. First and foremost, you're welcome to use the chat throughout the entirety of today's conversation. So that will be open and available to you. Feel free to chat with each other, chat with us. It's there for the taking. And then the Q&A will also be available. I do ask that if you have specific questions for our wonderful speakers, that you put them in that Q&A section, just so they don't get lost in the chat for whatever reason. It can get flowing. We want to make sure that we get to those questions. And if we don't get to all of them, we'll do our best to, but if not, we'll reach out afterwards as best we can. But we'll do our best to get to as many questions as we can. We want this to be interactive. We want y'all to participate with us. So super excited to engage with you here today. And then lastly, we are recording today's session. So if for some reason you need to jump early, I know we just talked about there are storms out there right now. If you lose power, don't worry, we are recording. And we will email this recording to everyone next week. So keep an eye on your email for that. So before we get started, I just wanted to quickly introduce any new attendees to Bonterra, kind of who we are and what we do. For those of you who aren't familiar, Bonterra has taken the powers that are cyber grants, WeSpire, Every Action, Network for Good, 12 and more social good organizations together to really help you achieve the greatest good. So that you can propel your peak mission and peak impact. We want you to be able to raise more, match more, grant more, help more, and do more good. We feel like we're really uniquely positioned and incredibly optimistic about how we can help move the needle on social impact as a whole. It's been our mission to really just help grow giving, and you're a big part of that mission. And so if you are interested in learning more about Bonterra's tools, want to just kind of explore what those are, I'm going to put a poll up on the screen. Please fill that out. We'd love to hear from you, see if you're interested, chat with you, chat with some of our team members. So I'll put that up for a quick moment. And while that's up, I'm going to introduce the stars of today's show, our wonderful speakers who are joining us. We are lucky to be joined by Bonnie Anderson, the head of humanitarian programs at Sanofi. Bonnie is responsible for the strategic and operational elements of both Sanofi's Rare Humanitarian Program and their participation in the World Federation of Hemophilia Humanitarian Aid Program. Having joined Sanofi in 2005, Bonnie has held various roles. It's been a really key portion of their success. So we're lucky to have Bonnie with us, and she's joined by Bill Schwartz. Bill is the digital product owner at Sanofi. Bill's a seasoned professional in the field of healthcare and digital product management, with a career spanning over 17 years at Sanofi and over 25 years in technology implementations. Bill's really established himself as a key player in the company's digital transformation journey. So super excited to have Bill. And then we're also joined by Maggie Welsh, who's here from Bonterra. Maggie joined Bonterra in 2022. As an enterprise customer success manager. And as that manager, she currently works with the Sanofi team to help drive impact and achieve success through our solutions. So Maggie, I will let you start us off, and I will stop talking and take my seat in the background and let the stars take it away. Thanks all.
Thank you, Amanda, and hello, everyone. I am very excited to be here with you on this webinar today, along with our partners at Sanofi. As Amanda stated, I am Maggie Welch, an Enterprise Customer Success Manager, and I've been with Bonterra for over a year and a half now. So you just heard a little bit about Bonterra from Amanda. So let me provide a high-level overview of the grants management program, which we'll be speaking a little bit more about today. So the grants management platform that is serviced here at Bonterra is designed to help corporations streamline and optimize their philanthropic giving process. So it automates key tasks such as proposal submission, review and approvals, while also providing robust reporting and analytics to track grants and measure impact, ensuring efficient and effective management of corporate grants. So you're going to hear a lot about this today from Bonnie and Bill, but we're ultimately trying to drive better outcomes by aligning your corporate philanthropy with your mission and purpose. So with that, I think we need to take a little bit of a step back and just clarify what is philanthropic giving, because sometimes we often hear that it's about giving funds to different social good organizations or whatever that might be. But I think here at Bonterra, we help service clients that are giving goods and services to those in need. And you'll hear more today from Sanofi specifically. They're talking about how to get medical treatment to patients and physicians in need across the world. So that's just another aspect of philanthropic giving, but it kind of leaves the book open to what our solution may offer and what you're ultimately trying to achieve through your corporate philanthropy. So I know Amanda stated, but I am not the star of the show. That is Bill and Bonnie. So I will turn it over to Bill to provide an overview of Sanofi, and then Bonnie will review the Rare Humanitarian Program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. And once again, this is Bill Schwartz. I am the digital product owner for our Rare Humanitarian Program. We call it our online tool port, and I'm sure Bonnie can get into a little bit more details on how we came up with that name. What I'd like to do is just take a moment and tell you a little bit about our company. We are an innovative global healthcare company with one purpose. We chase the miracles of science, and we try to improve people's lives. That's just a message that resonates with all of us because science does bring us miracles, and we're all about the patient healthcare. This particular program is totally patient focused, and I'm looking forward for Bonnie to share the details of the program. But for the next couple of minutes, I'll just give you a couple of pieces of background on our journey implementing the Bonterra system for this Rare Humanitarian Program. This slide here is where we started, and it's not really where we started because the program is older than our technology. The program started for many, many years with paper and very manual processes. And I think about 8 or 10 years ago, we were able to stand up a SharePoint site and to help at least organize the information. This was before my time supporting the program, but it kind of looked like what you see here on screen, where you would have just kind of our lists that would come in. If somebody needs to submit something for an approval, there was a button to start a process behind the scenes. And behind it, you click into one of these records, and we'd have individual files, PDFs attached, with the various information about the patient, about the request for the product, and different things. So that was our starting point. It was a step towards automation, but it really did not provide things that we're really excited about with this system, where we've got healthcare professionals around the world able to request our products from where they are, anywhere in the world, without needing to know somebody, a medical director or a medical person in all the countries that we serve. So just a moment, our Bonterra search page, when we're into the system and we want to look up a patient or records, there's different ways to search. In this particular case, I looked at this SAEL04, and that's a de-identified patient identifier. So it means nothing if you don't have the background behind it, but we can go ahead and do a search. And we've anonymized patient ID. You can see right there on the screen the approval status and several other key pieces of information. The healthcare professionals can log in and see all of their patients and all of their requests too through their side of the portal. Today, I'm just sharing you what we see from the back office. Once we click into a record, we've got easy to use forms to fill out. And these forms and the Bonterra system are adaptable to your specific needs. Our program is very unique to several other programs, but with the help of the Bonterra implementation team, we were able to adapt it to our specific needs, what data points we capture. And in our case, we have to capture things like patient weight, number of vials that they're going to receive, and so many other data points. So it was very important that we could scale and add on to the base fields that were already there. So that's just a quick introduction from me. What I'd like to do now is turn it over to Bonnie, and she can give you some more details about the program. And we've got time for questions and answers, so keep your questions ready, put them in the Q&A, and we'll be getting to those shortly.
Great. Thank you, Bill. And I'm also very happy to be here to share with you a bit about the Sanofi Rare Humanitarian Program story and our journey to get here. So again, my name is Bonnie Anderson, and I have had the real privilege of leading the efforts around this program for the past 11 years. I have been with the company for 19 years, but truly a privilege. This program has changed the lives of patients around the world. And we're so happy that now we're more modernized and into a digital solution. As Bill shared, we can go into a lot more details about kind of our journey, but let me tell you, it involved a lot of paper. It involved a lot of slow manual processes. And so we're excited that actually just about a year ago on February 1st, we went live with the Bonterra solution. But let me just kind of step back a little bit and tell you a bit about the program as a whole. So it goes back now 33 years. So it started in 1991 and is truly the vision of the former Genzyme CEO, Henry Tamir. Henry was a pioneer in rare disease, also someone who was very compassionate. And he recognized from the very beginning that there would be patients that would need access to our innovative treatments from around the world. And he felt quite simply it was our obligation as a company to provide a mechanism to be able to get these products to patients around the world, regardless of their ability to pay or access commercial treatment. So that kind of kicked off the humanitarian program, and it was created at the same time we were launching our first commercial product for Gaucher disease. And I'm very proud of the fact that through the Genzyme acquisition by Sanofi, this program has really thrived and grown under our current leadership. And as Bill mentioned, chasing the miracles of science is something that all of us at Sanofi are so proud to do. And being able to get product to patients around the world who really need it is something that, again, we're very proud of. So now when we kind of look at the program as a whole, so this is the first, the largest and the longest running program of its kind for patients with lysosomal storage disorders. You see here our goal, which has actually remained the same over the past 30 years, is to get our therapy. So we are talking about product specific that we use here with the Bonterra solution to patients around the world to the best of our ability. And this does include patients in war zones, sanctioned countries. Really, all countries are eligible to participate in this program, which does make it very unique. So since the beginning, we have treated more than 3,650 patients in this program. Today, we are supporting patients in 6 disease areas on 8 products. It's a very active program. So in addition to maintaining our current patient base, we are averaging about 150 new patients per year. And all of these submissions, including renewals, because we do follow up our patients, these are all now processed in Bonterra. So it's a high level of volume, especially when you look at the context of rare disease, for those of you who are familiar with that disease areas. It's a great way to, again, optimize this process, which previously was very manual. This is a very global program. So we have supported patients in more than 100 countries. Today, we are supporting close to 1,200 patients in 72 countries. So many of these countries are places where we do not have Sanofi teams. They're, countries like Uganda, Kenya, Mongolia, the Philippines, Venezuela, across the world, and not places where we have Sanofi people on the ground that can connect directly to a physician. Also why having a digital platform has really made the connection to the physicians much easier. In terms of product volume, we do ship over 100,000 vials annually through this program. So lots of things that we needed to kind of keep track of and monitor. So in order to have a program that has been in existence for over 30 years, it's really important for us to ensure that our program is sustainable, efficient, and up to date. So we would regularly review, the criteria for someone to participate in the program, the medical documentation that we needed, what is happening in the world, which of course these days is very challenging. So the number of countries with war zone situations is growing. And also looking at what products do we include, what type of training, and of course the objectives of the program. So this led us to a great opportunity when we were working with Bonterra to roll out, as Bill mentioned, PORT, which is called our patient online referral tool, to really look at what types of questions are we asking physicians to provide us. And so during this whole process of onboarding the Bonterra solution, we revisited all of these different aspects and really optimized our processes. And I'll show you here just kind of a high level view of what our process is. So it goes from start to finish here with a submission from a physician, all the way through a medical review, through shipment, and through the patient getting treatment. I've highlighted here all of the steps where our PORT solution comes into play. So keeping in mind that previously all of these steps were done manually, and then, roughly 10 years ago, we moved into SharePoint, which still was very manual for us. It was not external facing, only internal, and had a lot of uploading of documents. So although it was better than having faxes and mail and everything else, it certainly did not give us the results that we see today in terms of true optimization and ease of being able to make the process very simple for the physician. And that was really one of our most important pieces. The only way to get to the patient is through the physician. And so we needed to make the process for them putting in a request to be as easy as possible through all of the steps. So I'll stop there in terms of background and hand it over to Maggie to jump us into some of the discussion elements.
Yeah, thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Bill. So I think you both mentioned that this whole journey has been a process from start to finish, from when you all started 30 years ago to today. So can you kind of take us back? I know, Bill, you had a couple slides in regards to where you all started, but could you kind of talk about more of that legacy process? What were you doing? Because I feel like that might resonate with some audience members here today of they might be tracking on Excel spreadsheets or whatever that might be. So what were you doing prior? And we can kind of go along that journey of where you're at today. Oh, we can't hear you, Bill.
I'm going to turn this over to Bonnie because her team was doing the manual process. I can explain it, but it was really paper, phone calls, meeting with medical people, fax machines, scribbled signatures. But Bonnie's team had supported the manual process before it was automated. So go ahead, Bonnie.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I'm happy to take that one because my team was certainly feeling the brunt of the pain with so much manual and, if you will, paper process. So in the very beginning, it was definitely true paper. It was a fax coming in, a piece of mail coming in that would have, these requests from physicians across the world looking for treatment to our medications. And so these, as you can imagine, the handwriting, as we all know, physicians are not known for proper penmanship, so difficult to read. Forms, if they even had a form to start with, were incomplete, requiring us to go back through, and we always worked through a medical contact within Sanofi. So although Sanofi is very much a global company, large footprint across the globe, it still has situations where the closest Sanofi local medical person could be many countries away. And so you're dealing with delays on communication, potentially language barriers as well. But documents would come in all different forms. And I think our biggest challenge was the incompleteness, because this causes a delay in getting, again, our goal of getting patients access to the treatment quickly. And also some of the compliance concerns, the forms were not signed. We didn't know, is this physician really a legitimate physician in this country? We had no tracking of a license or any of that. So when we looked at the Bonterra solution, that was one of the things that we wanted to do, was to really see how can we make this simple, compliant, complete, and asking the questions per disease area. So as I mentioned, we have 6 disease areas, really customizing it to the ask, asking only the questions that we needed answers to and making it mandatory. So we couldn't get documents coming in that were incomplete. So every request that we received was complete, saving time and allowing us to move through a workflow that linked in a local medical contact, a global medical contact, and then ultimately to our team to ensure a smooth processing. And if I can share with you just one of the kind of first patients that we actually processed through our Bonterra solution. So again, we went live February 1st, 2023. And our first application came in from a physician in Uganda, which was a country actually we had not been in previously. And the whole process for us to get the application reviewed and approved ultimately took less than 36 hours. So within less than a day and a half, we were able to process it all the way through. And then, of course, start the process of shipment. But that 36 hours could easily have been multiple weeks if we had to go back and forth with either incorrect or missing information. So it was a great example of, wow, this solution is really going to work for us if we can go that quickly with a brand new country and physician. So again, a great success story right from day one.
That's incredible to hear, Bonnie. Thank you for kind of sharing some of that history as well as where we're at today. I think that's helpful just to hear of you started with some paper and now you're utilizing technology in the best way as well. So some of the pain points I heard you mention were just delayed submissions, back and forth communication. It was all on paper, so some of it was hard to read. Bill or Bonnie, are you able to speak to maybe the lack of reporting as well? Was there something, were you able even to report on anything back in the day just due to the paper applications or whatever you might be receiving versus how it is today as well?
Well, I'll start and Bonnie, you can finish. We were on SharePoint. So reporting was trying to do an Excel download of information, manually manipulating it, trying to check for all kinds of information, creating whatever charts or roll-up information we could. We went through an evolution of a very old version of SharePoint that when the servers were still inside the company four walls to SharePoint Online a number of years ago, about 4 years ago too, and that kind of changed the user experience. But our reporting at the time was still manual, even though we had a lot of the data now tracked in lists in SharePoint. Bonnie?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think everything, you could easily drop something into Excel, but then you had to create, and in some ways it was easy in the sense that you could just drop it and filter and move it around. But if you wanted to have anything standardized or consistent, you would still have to create it every time. So we did get the insights module with our Bonterra solution. So we've been working through creating different dashboards and different report views that allow us to have a better view, a consistent view of the data. We also, given that the old solution and even in SharePoint was, as Bill showed you, like a bunch of attachments, right? So that attachment was a PDF that was a handwritten form. Now, if I want to go in and select how many patients do I have under the age of 10, then I have that field, a birth date, a date of birth field that I can just go and create a report from versus having to look through a bunch of paper documents. So we put everything, of course, into a filterable, either drop-down menus or hard-coded kind of fields so that we are able to really utilize the reporting in a much different way than we had ever been able to do, especially when it comes to some of the medical specific parameters that we're asking about, whether it's hemoglobin levels or something very specific. Medical directors can also pull data around that if they should choose to. So it's definitely, again, moved us into more modern times. We were very kind of archaic, if you will, in some of the things that we could do previously.
Yeah, so it sounds like everything's kind of at your fingertips today with what you can kind of manipulate the data, filter how you need it, whatever it might be. Speaking of data, how much of that data did you import from historical purposes? Was it just a year's worth of data, a couple years worth of data? What all did you import into the Bonterra system?
This one's Bill. This is Bill.
I'll take this one.
Guy definitely took care of this.
Data guy.
Yep.
I learned more about this program doing data conversion for it personally than I ever knew. We had 30 years of data that we had loaded into our SharePoint site. We converted 30 years of data. And because our patients can be with us that many years on the product, and it's very important to our ongoing reporting at the company to maintain that information. Now, we had some challenges, as you've probably gathered, incomplete data sets, what we're making required fields in Bonterra. Sometimes we didn't have that data, so we would have to go search for it. We'd have to go look at some of the paper files, do spreadsheets, and basically transform what we did in SharePoint. Took as much of that as we could to transform into Bonterra, and then fill out any missing information so we could make complete records. I will say it was a bigger feat than we originally thought it would be. But we have a single, by taking that history, we've got a single area system of record where we can go back to and find a lot of the legacy information that we need.
Yeah.
But
And that was important to us. I was going to say that was something, having all of the data in one location was a key thing that we needed. And that's because our patient IDs have a next number type of concept. So we didn't want to all of a sudden just start in a new system and have the legacy information. Plus, as Bill mentioned, we do have patients that we have been treating for more than 20 years. And part of the program is that they need to submit what we call a medical renewal or an update on their situation every 6 months or once a year. And so having that history to be able to go back and see how is the patient progressing without having to go back to a archive in another system wasn't going to be the way to work for us. So we did do the migration. Bill said we learned a lot. I think also for our own lessons learned was scrubbing the data a little bit more, maybe in advance, would have been helpful. We did as much as we could, but that, as always, of course, with any data conversion is a good best practice anyways, I think. Yeah.
Right. So it's helpful to hear as well that you can convert as much data as you'd like or as little data as you'd like. And it sounded like you needed everything there to be at your fingertips and easily accessible for your team as well. So that's really awesome to hear from that standpoint. What were there other pain points from the legacy process that you can think of that helped by transitioning over to Bonterra, or did we cover most of that?
Well, I'll say I have one thing that I would add, and this was right after we launched. I would say probably within 30 days, there was a new business need. We had a situation that we needed to address regarding training. So this wasn't a pain point that we actually thought about before, but what we realized is that we wanted to have a training certification process step. So very shortly after we went live, we actually modified the workflow to insert this combination of a physician saying, yes, I've been certified and trained on the product, and then also the local medical saying, yes, I agree that I have trained this physician. And this was a big piece, especially for compliance. We wanted these products, again, they're very innovative, they are very safe, they're approved in US and EU and many other countries, but we're often working in remote geographies that they may never have seen a patient with one of these diseases. So we need to ensure proper training and knowledge about the product and the disease. But we knew we were doing it, but we had never truly certified. And so what was great is that this solution was easy to amend, insert a workflow step, create this section to be able to then do this. And again, my management as well as our compliance teams were very happy that then I could pull a report to say, yes, all of these physicians have been trained. So from that perspective, I'd say we've also been modifying as we went. It wasn't that we had to say, okay, we can't do this. It was something that was easy and agile to be able to amend. So that was a good, again, not a pain point previously, but something that we could see needed to be addressed.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Bonnie, because we did get a question in the chat about it, specifically around programmable compliance checks. So it sounds like you're able, as the needs come up, you're able to enhance or implement some of those compliance checks that you have in regards to training or whatever it might be. I know you mentioned compliance earlier around different certificates and that kind of stuff too. So is there anything else in regards to that topic, or is it more so like you can do it as the need comes up and there's other things within the platform as well that help satisfy some of those checks?
I would say in terms of like compliance or even the quality checks was that, making the fields a required field. So you ensured that the physician could not proceed with the application until all fields were completed, because otherwise you could get a submission that, 50% of the fields were not completed. And we gave some options, especially maybe a test that's not performed in all countries, making it a couple of options so that they weren't stuck, if you will, like, well, I can't move forward because I can't complete this. Because we all know we've filled out applications for different things that you're like, I just spent all this time and now I can't save it or I can't move forward. So we were able to make things required where we needed to, have some options for different choices in a drop-down menu, and really make sure that what we were getting was complete. And then we do a manual quality check as well. Part of our kind of quarterly processing, the coordinators that we have for the program do pull data and do some validation to ensure that we are, getting everything that we need. But we've had I think the compliance to that, or the quality checks have been at 100% because of the way it was designed. And actually want to call a shout out to our Bonterra team, especially Melissa Shito, who really helped us also think about change. My team, we've all been on this program for a really long time. And so when moving to something like this was also we were nervous, right? And we had to step back and say, okay, don't think about how we've always done it, but think about doing it better and more efficient. And I do feel like the Bonterra team that we had challenged us and said, well, what if we asked it this way? Or do you even need that question? And helped us really ensure that we were creating something that would meet our needs, be simplified where we could, and be very efficient, which was ultimately our goal.
Right. So I think that's the solution minded from our team helped kind of drive some of the outcomes of simplifying the process for you all as well. And something that you also mentioned was that you could have country specific questions, you could have country specific requirements. And our application and our solution allows you to customize that according to your needs by country, by whatever it might be, to ensure that you're following either the compliance requirements or your own requirements for applications that must be completed in a certain manner.
I saw a question pop up asking if we created a list of product IDs or SKUs for the medical people to request. Our list is not that long in this program.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bonnie, how many products do we have? And each application was tailored towards a specific disease state.
Yes, so we have 6 disease areas. So when the physician does log in to make the request, they are first selecting what disease the patient they are requesting has. And then if it's one of the disease areas that has multiple products, they then get a second question that says, what product are you asking for? And then that will trigger what the rest of the questionnaire looks like, depending on disease and then product. Once you get it, so in total, there's 8 products, 6 disease areas, 8 products. The question though about, GMIDs or SKUs, we ship, because we are shipping to so many different countries, our product mix, if you will, is roughly 150 to 200 unique GMIDs that we're sending, but we're not tracking that in the Bonterra system. We have a whole supply chain process, of course, within Sanofi that we work through. So I guess maybe the way this Bonterra solution kind of ends and then the next process kind of kicks off is that when we approve a patient, we are approving a certain number of vials. This generates an approval letter, which is automatically sent to the physician through what we call port, so through the site, also eliminating the need to email the letter separately, so another saving step. But then we're able to run reports because it's a field, how many vials did you approve? And so we can then run a report that says, okay, in Kenya, I approved 200 vials of this product. And so then I know from a supply chain perspective, how many vials do we need to ensure are forecasted or planned for that country of that product. we have not linked our supply chain or the system to what we use a system called Kinaxis for a lot of our supply chain activities. It's something that we may look at in the future, but right now our main focus was to be able to manage the patient submissions, which even on any given year are 2,000 plus submissions coming in, new and renewal applications. So that was enough for us to tackle in the beginning, but does give us, again, that reporting functionality to be able to run how many vials did we approve of what product to what country and really drill down.
Yeah, I
So
think one of our drivers is if we connect it to our supply chain, then it becomes a GXP system. So that adds another layer of implementation and testing. But we've had so many huge efficiencies just by implementing the program. That was really our focus to start. Bonnie, I see another question that had come in about using the impact report feature. And the question says, apart from an online application, to use impact report feature to gather additional information. So
we do. The answer is yes, we do. So we have set up a couple of ways that we use impact reports. So first, when we look at the type of data points that we are collecting, we track everything at the patient level. So patients are given that de-identified code. They're then, given an approval date. So we track when they were first approved for participation in the program. And then we track also when they received their first often an infusion. So the first time that they initiated treatment. So that is a field that needs to be completed by the physician. Previously, it was done us emailing local medical teams who then are reaching out. So again, from an efficiency standpoint, we created an impact report that automatically sends a message to the physician that says, please complete your treatment activation date for these patients. So we don't have that truly automated in the sense that it's going out because we know, but every country has different import requirements. So in some countries, once an approval happens, product can get to them, within a couple of weeks. But there's other countries that might take 3 months or 4 months because we are shipping into challenging geographies that require a lot of documentation for product to get in. So we didn't want to be pinging a physician automatically right away before we know that the product even shipped. So in order to ensure we're not frustrating our very important physicians, we kick that off on our own. So we have a different, kind of view. Our internal team looks at how many, patients are still in the approved state and then kicks off the impact report. We also use the impact report for this that training certification. So another way that we customize an impact report to tell the physician, hey, don't forget to make sure that you certify that you've been trained. And on that point too, not an impact report, but we also created what we call our physician declaration form. So again, a way from a compliance perspective to ensure that the physician knows what they're signing up for, if you will, and is agreeing to that in its specific language that's in there, that every application that they submit is just a checkbox. It's very simple with the form being visible. So it's a way to kind of get our legal friends to be also happy, which of course is very important. This is a program that's very valuable to our patient community. And so it's important for us to be compliant and make sure that we're doing things that are not going to jeopardize anything. So having all of those little checkpoints really helped us along the way.
Absolutely. That's awesome to hear as well. I know you mentioned, Bonnie, earlier that once you all went live in early February, congratulations on the 1-year anniversary.
Yep.
But once you went live, you had a very quick win with a physician in Uganda who was able to get an application approved within 36 hours. Have you had any other feedback from physicians or patients going through the application process, just the ease of it, or any feedback in general from the old way versus the new way now?
Yeah, I think, it's in the beginning, of course, just like it's that whole change management, right? It's, physicians that we'd worked with for a long time that just want a date on it, and they really weren't even changing any of the data, which now, of course, can't happen because they have physicians also had to adapt to the change. And so in the beginning, of course, there were issues with, oh, I can't find the password, I have a firewall issue, I'm traveling, and can I just send an email? And what I think is great is that we do treating physician is not available, but a member from their staff is. Then they can assign a delegate to. So it's important that we have this option so that we didn't burden the physicians, because of course they're very busy in many cases. So that helped us address some of the initial challenges that we anticipated, such as access and things. And then what we've heard is actually it works very well. Our local team members are happy because they're not chasing physicians anymore. They don't have to try to figure out how I'm going to print it, scan it, sign it. They just go in the system. They get automatic emails that say you have a submission to review. Our global medical team, again, same thing. They don't have to fight with handwriting and incomplete. They just can check, and approve. So overall, I think it was very favorable response. We did have some bumps along the way, as any implementation would have. But again, we took that feedback, we adjusted things as needed, because that was the other nice thing, is that we were able to modify without huge problems. Using your ticket process with Bonterra, we had someone assigned to us that would address the ticket, consulting, with the Bonterra team if we hit a real sticky point. But in general, I think it was a good, smooth implementation overall. And if we hit a hiccup, we had a way to resolve it relatively quickly.
Yeah, awesome. So another question just came in as well, kind of along the same lines of feedback from patients and physicians. But since adopting and implementing the Bonterra software, have you been able to increase the number of participants you treat and serve? Is this progress something you can track within the Bonterra system?
That's a great question. And to be honest, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, possibly, because physicians are able to access the system on their own. We do have a link to it on the Sanofi website under the humanitarian program. They do have an access right there to connect to port and be able to make a submission. So again, from that perspective, it's faster. They don't have to reach out and try to figure out who to contact. They can make the request. But it's hard for me to know if we've actually, had an increase. I think last year our numbers were higher than past years, but we also added a whole new therapeutic area to the program. So that, I think, is probably more the reason than the solution. But I think, again, it's more of the ease of making the submission versus increasing the number of submissions. And, just to add to the point about having a new therapeutic area or a product, that's another nice thing, is the program is scalable. So you just, again, enter your drop-down menus, add a product, add a disease area, create your form, and then it can be all connected to the workflow. So it's something that we anticipate more products being added to the program. And then when that happens, we're comfortable with the fact that it will be an easy movement into the solution.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that's something also that as you get more years within the platform, that's something that you can track as well through our reporting tools, just to kind of keep an eye on it. Because I think that would be really interesting to see of how much increase that was. Are there other countries that you're hitting that maybe you didn't think you would, and just see what is the global reach overall. So I think that's going to be really neat to see as the years come too.
Yeah, it's a great question. I have to think about how to track it. But I like the idea of trying to connect it to the new solution.
Absolutely. So I think another question that I have is understanding, so from your internal processes, so how has that improved from maybe a workflow approval process? What happens if people are either out of the office or on leave or whatever that might be? How does that work internally to be a little bit more, as you mentioned, agile, more effective? Has that helped with utilizing the technology here at Bonterra?
Yep. Do you want me to take that one, Bill, or do you? Either way.
Well, either way, I think one of the best things that we have is we have alternative contacts. So when approval is going through or a request is going through, you've got a primary and you got a secondary. So if somebody's out we're not missing things. So that's been a great efficiency. It has helped us because before it was very challenging when users would come and go into the company. We had to manually give them access to a SharePoint site. We had to track them all different ways. So I think we have improved because we've reduced that bottleneck. But did you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, every country has a medical contact assigned to them. We keep this in a spreadsheet and also make sure, you do have to do some manual intervention in the system should, your contact for Argentina change. You need to go in and change the workflow assignment, but you can also assign multiple people. So it's good. Especially on our global medical side, we opted to have a primary and a secondary contact because people do travel, take vacations, and this way you weren't having to have it sit in someone's inbox for too long. You could have it automatically, the backup was getting notified. Plus we can run reports to see how long has this submission been sitting. Our goal is to process all submissions within 5 business days. Some of our more urgent disease areas we try to do within 24, 48 hours. So thankfully our team is very responsive when they get these emails from the Bonterra sites. But if we needed to, we can ping people very, very easily. We also use, the single sign-on connected to our Sanofi employee database, which also Bill and his team were, key to be involved with, so that, as he said, we don't have to manually give you access. They single sign-on solution. So that's been, I think, really helpful. And in terms of the other process improvements is that we took this opportunity to also look at our operating procedures, our governance documents, and we did everything all at the same time to revisit. And through the process, for us, as you can imagine, Sanofi, big company, we have a lot of quality documents. We were able to eliminate 14 different quality documents, really reduce, again, the applications for all of the disease areas, and make the program much more efficient in all areas. And this solution was really what drove that.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was kind of a all-encompassing, let's all bring our teams together. We have this solution now. What else can we do to maximize impact, drive efficiencies across the board, utilize technology to help you as well? I know you just mentioned single sign-on technology. We also had another question in regards to, do you have any Sanofi systems tools integrated into the Bonterra solution? They said DocuSign for contracting or any finance systems for payments.
We did not do that. We use Adobe eSign at our company, and I've integrated that with other systems. That wasn't a requirement for this project. And no, we're not doing any financial payments in this system. We're delivering product. So as we're getting the requests, they move on, and we notify the supply chain of what countries they need to go to. And again, for a relatively quick implementation here, in months we got this live. We tried to do it as simple as possible and not add complexity. So we don't have SOX compliance or, again, no GXP requirements for validation. All these things are possible. It just wasn't a need for this program.
Right. So kind of 2023, I guess, was the year that it was implemented. You kind of got it going live. You experienced some maybe hiccups in the road, but got those resolved. So what does 2024 look like for you all?
So right now our focus is on dashboards and reporting. So I think we did the quick reporting options that we knew that we needed, but now it's making, I would say, kind of packages of reports that would meet each stakeholder group needs. So it's designing reports that a physician may like to see, or the local medical, global medical, and the humanitarian team. So it's really taking what we've learned and stepping back and saying, okay, what type of things do we want to, KPIs that we want to look at, reporting, making more dashboards. And this is where we've also utilized Bonterra's support after the fact. We've used some training hours to be able to really dig into some of the reporting. because, we did customize, of course, as Bill mentioned, we're not doing anything financial. This is not grants of dollars. This is products. So that meant we did have to customize some things. And so Bonterra has many different fields you can use. So designing the report to pull the field and how we're using it was a little bit of a learning piece for us to say, okay, when we say active date, that means this field. And so it was just doing some matching to make sure that we were pulling the data points that we needed. So this, had times that we wanted to get a little bit more understanding. So we utilized some training hours, and we still have a few that we're going to use as we look again to really optimizing the solution. And to me, that's the biggest piece that we're going to focus on now, and already have been as we kicked off the year. So much of the world now is data driven, trying to really show impact and show value of different, programs. And we do a lot of that through storytelling and through our patients. We know the impact, but being able to show management in your company, like, hey, this is what it's done, how many of this or that, or you need the good reporting. And so that's what we're focused on now.
Right. Awesome. Bill, anything to add to that?
Just to share with anybody who's still interested in the reporting aspect, we did buy the Insights module, and we are evolving our skills on that. But we've also been able to leverage the system to tie into one of our Power BI performance dashboards that the medical team has. So it's a separate platform to do dashboards, but we were able to seamlessly bring in the data by connecting into the back end through a user login, and be able to pull it into a different reporting platform too. So there is some good flexibility, and it allowed us to focus the insights dashboards within the system for the users of a Bonterra system, of our port system, as we call it. But for other needs in the company to merge with bigger dashboards, and they need fed information, we're also able to do that.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome, Bonnie and Bill. I really enjoyed just hearing your all story and what the Bonterra solution has done for you over the past year, and what we're looking to do in the future as well. So very happy to be a part of this, and just to be your customer success manager as well. But I will toss it over to Amanda here. I think there's maybe a couple more questions. I don't know if we've answered everything here, but kind of wrap us up.
Yeah, awesome. I think we've gotten to most of the questions live here, but if you have any last minute ones, please feel free to toss them in the Q&A now. But as we wait for those to come in, I did want to just launch another poll to see if you're interested in kind of increasing efficiencies for your programs like Sanofi did, and want to learn a little bit more. We'd love to talk to you, chat with your team, your organization. So I'll leave that up for a moment here. And while y'all are filling that out or putting in any last minute questions, I just want to give a big thank you to Bill and Bonnie here for sharing not only your story about how we were able to collaborate and you were able to work with Bonterra, but really just for the work that you all do. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the program as a whole outside of the work that you do with Bonterra, because this is literally a life-saving program. I don't think very many people can say that, and I really want to take some time to thank you for the hard work that you're doing to improve literally the world. So we really appreciate you taking the time, which is so valuable, to be with us here today, to chat with this audience, and make this known for all. But thank you so much for the work that you do behind the scenes and for everyone here. All right, let's see if we had any last minute questions, but Bonnie, go ahead.
I do see one that just popped up. It's a great question about process about regulatory approval. So for a product to be included in this program, again, it's focused on our rare disease portfolio, but we do require major market approval first. So either US FDA or the EU EMA to be able to approve the drug. It does not need to be approved in all of the individual countries that we are supporting. In fact, most of the time, it's an unregistered drug going into the country, which does make the operational components of the program very challenging at times, but we do not require regulatory approval in the countries that we serve.
Great. Well, I think that's it, Amanda. Oh, you're on mute.
Good job. There's actually maybe one more question for you, and just some folks wondering about kind of grants management as a whole and Bonterra's tools. Can we work with organizations kind of outside of this pharmaceutical world, outside of this medical field, right? Like, is it applicable to other types of organizations? And, maybe just give like a quick insight into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to learn more about specific cases too, to see how we can work on that solution together. I think at the top of this presentation, I kind of mentioned how philanthropic giving can mean so much. It's not just giving dollars to organizations, but like Sanofi mentioned here today, it's giving medical treatments to patients in need as well. So there's a wide array of what we can do from a solution standpoint here at Bonterra from the grants management process. So would be really interested to hear what their specific situation is and how we can find a solution for them too.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll be in touch if you filled out
Absolutely.
that poll, if you're one of those folks that we can learn more. But I think that was all of the questions that we had. Bill and Bonnie, master of presentations, who were able to get to all of those within the flow and answer them in real time. We really appreciate such an awesome session. I saw Isaiah just wrote in the chat, gratitude for the excellent presentation. So conveying that for all of our attendees here and from us at Bonterra, we really appreciate you. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day, week, month. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.